You are listening to Freshly Squeezed.
Been interviewed live on sort of national TV. I think that's when you'd see the sort of dizzy height of Spotify paying us, £3.50 a week instead of the 27 pence. But, it's all good.
Let's find some brilliant new music, shall we? I'm Jim, and that's what we do on Freshly Squeezed, the podcast where you can discover your next favourite band, or at the very least, your second favourite. 3 more acts to introduce you to on this week's podcast. Maybe you know one, maybe you've come here specifically to hear from that one, but make sure you stick around for the rest. You will not be disappointed. This week, we're going to hear from a band described as dead, good by BBC Introducing, Cheshire 4-piece, The Zangwills. A slight change in musical direction from them, maybe. We'll get into the details on that shortly. But also, we've got a new vibe for the Now with their brand new tune, Wild Curse. More on this in a bit. But first, for the first band on this week's podcast, we need to get ourselves to Budapest. So, come on, mate. That's my bag.
Flight FS44.
Just down here. Cool.
Now boarding.
Yep. Passport. Nice.
Can you get your drinks, sir?
Yeah, I'll have a beer, please. And salt and vinegar Pringles. Thank you.
Any duty free, sir?
No, I'm all good for cigs. All good for aftershave. Thank you. Right, here we are. Make sure we've got everything good. Hello. Just down here.
Basics, catch and playing that live tonight at Dubinski.
Right, so in here, Eugene from the band Dubinski should be waiting for me just through this door. Come on, mate. Eugene, good to see you, mate.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me. Nice to be on.
For those who can't see where you are, paint a picture. What can we see?
I've just arrived at the venue. The venue's called Turbina. We have a show there tonight. I'm just sat in a smoking area. It's an interesting building, actually. Interesting city. So glad to be here.
You might have just got to Budapest, but maybe you can answer this in terms of what you're like as a band when you go to these places. Is it museums and palaces, or will you be indulging in the ruin bars in the city a little bit later?
Well, to be honest, when you're on the road the way we are just now, it's a lot of travel, and you have to kind of be quite strict with the schedule. Like we left Vienna. We had a gig in Vienna last night, and we left early this morning to make it for today. So there isn't an awful lot of time for sightseeing. But when we do get a chance, we'll go about the bars and gig venues, that kind of thing,
That's probably quite a nice juxtaposition onto the subject matter of the brand new tune that we're going to play on Freshly Squeeze. It's called Back to Basics, and a song that you say is about choosing self-care over self-destruction. Was this written as a bit of a reminder to yourselves as a band, given the temptations that tend to go hand in hand with band life?
Yeah, I think so. It's kind of a reflection on times in the past in my life where I found myself stuck in a cycle of, self-destructive behavior. And then when you snap out of that cycle, you can reflect on that and strive for a bit more kind of inner peace and a bit more routine to keep yourself steady, So it's kind of a self-reflection in a way.
Has having that moment of self-reflection helped so far?
It has. And I think finding a routine and, checking yourself to make sure you're all good, I think is important in life, and having that inner strength to keep pushing forward to strive for a bit more peace, as I say.
So this is the first new material since What Is Your Definition of Happiness, the album that came out March 2025. Not a load of distance between this and that, but musically, does it feel like there's a distance between what was on that album and this song, and maybe what will follow after this song?
Yeah, so I think the single Back to Basics as well kind of also hints at musically, because there was a bit more kind of synth on the previous album, and it was a bit more kind of soundscapey in parts. But the new tunes we've got are a bit more kind of back to our roots and a bit more indie rock and just kind of a bit more guitar music again, So it's kind of going in that direction.
When you say back to your roots, are they all kind of new songs that have been written for this next phase? Or did you find yourself going back into old notes on your phone or old scribbled handbooks and kind of finding stuff that maybe you'd worked on previously and pushed to the side when you've been doing previous albums?
No, the new tunes. I think, some of the lyrics. If I'm writing lyrics, I'll go through kind of old notes and old poems to help with lyric writing. But the songs are fresh and new. So I think when I say back to our roots, it's more kind of like how we were a bit more before, kind of just a bit more rocking and just jamming out ideas and grooving like that.
Do you find a difference? I mean, you're touring live at the moment. Do you find there's a difference in terms of how you approach that when you're on stage, when you're doing something that is a bit more maybe stripped back and honest rather than something that is synthy and layered and got these different components to it? Is it freer almost to do the basic stuff?
I feel it is, yeah, and you can kind of go for it a bit more and feel you're not relying on these different components to fill out the song. It's kind of a bit more punky, drivey, especially with our live show, a lot of energy. And I think that kind of shows in these new tunes. It's kind of captured our feel that we are as a live band a bit more, yeah.
We've not spoken before, Eugene, but I'm really interested in the early days of the band and the makeup of the band as well. 4 brothers, which is unusual as a family, but really unusual in terms of a band. How does the fact that you are all brothers affect the dynamic amongst you compared to, say, 4 mates that met at uni?
Yeah, it's definitely a unique working environment as a band. We get on surprisingly well as a family. It helps with songwriting as well. We all understand each other, the way we work, and it definitely helps in the songwriting process. It helps with touring and gigging, and we're very efficient and we understand each other. And especially it's only the past few years we really tried to make a go of it and started to pick it up. I just feel blessed to be in a band with my brothers, because when you're on the road, it's like not only are you going around gigging, doing what you love, but you get to spend it with your family as well. And our dad still comes on tour with us as well.
Oh, nice.
So our dad Johnny's on the road. So it's a good vibe. And the name Dubinski we took from our mother's surname. She passed away like nearly 10 years ago now. So the name Dubinski is a tribute to her. So that makes it even more special for us, you know.
So you're all together on the road in one form or another?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think the makeup of the band and it being 4 brothers is almost a result of your upbringing, because you were born in rural Yorkshire, then moved to rural Scotland, where perhaps maybe you didn't have the chance to meet a load of other musicians or get involved in the wider music scene, so it was kind of almost like a means to an end that you're bonded together in a group? Or do you think it would have happened anyway had you grown up in a place like Liverpool or Manchester or Birmingham?
Yeah, I think it definitely did have an effect on us wanting to be musicians, being kind of isolated in the countryside. Yeah, because there's not a lot else to do. So we just go fishing and play music. And our dad was always a musician. He's from Limerick, Ireland, so he plays Irish trad music and he plays a bit of jazz, blues, piano. And our mother, she was an artist as well. So creativity has always been in the family, and I've always kind of nourished our creative side and encouraged us to be musical and play music loud and be creative whenever we wanted. So it was a really lucky and nourished upbringing, I think, and it's helped to shape us as the band that we are now.
Eugene, I'm going to let you go and get some food, get your sound check done, all those important things. Pleasure to speak to you on Freshly Squeezed. We'll get the new tune on, but thanks for coming on and enjoy Budapest.
Great. Nice one. Thanks a lot.
I'm feeling safer inside, but still have been forewarned. Am I as crazy as I always thought I was? And so I searched for a sign. Like the first time that I knew I'd overcome what the demon held and waved right in my face. Or the last time that I had to let you know that I could take it or leave it. Or that one time that I asked for you to show, so that I better believe it. I wanna eat well, I wanna sleep well, discipline my body, achieve a state of mind. And if I stay up late, no one to feel my pain, I'm gonna dip my body into an ice cold lake. The meat clings to the bone.
Loving that from Dubinski, and quite jealous that I don't get to spend the evening in Budapest. But we move on, and we move on with a brand new tune from The Now. Going to chat to Will in a minute, but before I do that, I first need to play you the bass line from the intro to Wild Curse. Sounds like this. How good is that? So let's get into it. How you doing, Will?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you doing today?
Very good. We're talking about Wild Curse, your brand new tune, and we need to kick off by talking about the bass line off the bat. Dead funky, sounds like something straight off a Michael Jackson album. When did that bass line become part of the track? Was it there from the off? Was it one of the building blocks on which the track was built?
That's a really good question. I'm pretty certain it was written pre we went in the studio. We get together. Shane, the lead singer's got like a studio where we can do rough demos. We pretty much sort of record it, we sort of program the drums and things. So it would have been most probably pre-written before we went to the studio. But yeah, I don't want to give Marty too many big props because his ego would be bursting out of the room. So it was, it is a really good bass, and then we'll give him that. But Michael Jackson, I don't know, that's a bold old statement, isn't it?
In terms of musical terms, it is still a compliment. In terms of, if you were akin to other things, we might be having questions. But I think in terms of musical terms, you're on safe grounds there.
Yeah, as long as it's music based, that's fine with us.
In terms of the bass line, it does feel like in this case, it kind of informs the rest of the song or the style of the song. That's how it sounds anyway. Is that common in terms of how you guys work on a track from those starting moments? Is it music first, then lyrics, or do you tend to kind of start with the topic and the words and build the music around that to reflect the mood?
There's no real set format, to be honest. I'd say lyrics tend to come after the nucleus of the song has been created. Is more, music comes first, then melody, the lyrics. But there's no sort of process that we, stay tightly close to. If something works, then we just sort of run with it. The best ones are always the ones that just sort of make themselves work, if you know what I mean. We often find if you go into the studio, into a practice, and you're going to say, right, today we're going to write a song, or, we are going to do this, and you start forcing something, and it never really works. We just sort of go there with an open mind, maybe with a riff or maybe with a few ideas, and just sort of thrash it out and see what happens. But yeah, I don't think we've ever really started with a bass line before, not that I can remember. It's normally just like a riff or a chord progression, and then we sort of build a house on top of that foundation, if you know what I mean.
It's very 80s, this tune, I think, much more so than maybe previous tracks that you've released, which I'd say maybe were a little bit more classic rock, classic indie rock. Did you feel as a band you consciously wanted to change it up a little bit for this one?
Funny enough, we were talking about this the other day, and where we started to where we are now, and the sort of progression we've been on. I think all bands tend to start and they quiet, loud, chorus, solo, chorus, end. And we were sort of lucky in a way that when we recorded the first EP, that was, like you say, and you are right, very, traditional rock, indie rock. We worked with a really talented producer called Ollie Jacobs, who's gone on now. I think he's won a Grammy for Peter Gabriel. He's won a Grammy for Taylor Swift. So we were sort of grabbed him. We were very, very lucky to sort of grab Ollie just before he hit the dizzy heights of, winning Emmys. And we did the EP. And then when we came to record the album, we went back to record the album very much in the same mindset as when we went and did the EP. As it just like, a balls at rock and roll. But then we sort of changed it up a little bit and sort of took us down a different avenue. And since then, I think we've sort of found our sound, and I'd say we are definitely more akin to, like you say, the 80s vibe and the synthiness to the track. So like even like dance rock, really. I don't think that exists. But yeah, I think that's where we're gonna go with it, and quite excited, really.
So this is going to be on the new EP, which is on the way very soon. Is it indicative of how the rest of that record is going to sound?
I think so, yeah. We're sort of in a bit of a quandary at the moment. We've been like tying up, do we write a couple more songs and release sort of a 6-track EP, or do we combine the 4 that we've done and then write maybe say another 6 or 7 and do album 2? So we're still having a bit of a think about what route do you want to go down. But yeah, I think moving on, I think the rest of the tracks are going to be very much in the vein of Wild Curse and the other few recent ones.
I spotted you guys on Sunday Brunch with the new tune a couple of weeks back. where they play a small snippet of the music between Tim and Simon's banter and showing you how to poach a salmon or something like that. But does that kind of TV appearance make a difference? Because it's only a fraction of your song, but do you find yourself, when you know you've appeared on something like Sunday Brunch, kind of frantically checking your Spotify stats afterwards to see if you've picked up extra audience off the back of it?
Unfortunately, I would say not massively. I think what that gives us is content for social media, because social media literally is the driver of every band at the moment. Whether you think that's a good thing or bad thing is obviously pros and cons. So for us, it's just fantastic to get that content and just to be seen at that sort of level. That, you know, we're on national, our, you know, tracks are being played on national TV is just another sort of run up the ladder. And I think if and when, you know, major labels are looking to see that we are gaining that sort of traction, and we're in front of audiences, I don't know, a few 100,000 to 1 million people watching on a Sunday. I think it just gives those labels more of a reason to want to be involved in us than not. So for us, is for more pushing us up the runs of the ever-growing ladder that bands seem to be on. Hopefully we'll gain a few more followers and a few more Spotify listeners. But I think the next step after this now is to hopefully get on there and perform like that. I think that's doing an actual track, being interviewed live on sort of national TV. I think that's when you'd see the sort of dizzy height of Spotify paying us, £3.50 a week instead of the 27 pence. But, it's all good.
Well, really nice to speak to you. Thanks for coming on Freshly Squeezed. Enjoying the new tune. You need to check this out for the bass line, if nothing else. But it's a great song in its completion rather than just the bass line. There's also a bit in it that really reminds me of Voulez-Vous by ABBA, which I really like as well. But Will, pleasure to speak to you. Thanks for coming on Freshly Squeezed.
Very much been a pleasure. Speak to you soon.
Sharp breaths, not knowing how we got the cross paths. It's like I got in the sun, makes you feel alive, puts the tears aside. Where have you been? Can you feel it? Can you feel it like it's burning away? Where have you been? Can you feel it? Can you feel it like it's burning away? Wild curse, where have you been? Where have you been? Wild curse, wild curse, can you feel it like it's burning away? Where have you been? Wild curse, can you feel it? Wild curse, can you feel it like it's burning away?
That's Wild Curse, brand new from the Now, and there is one more band and one more track to go on Freshly Squeezed. That tune is going to come from the Cheshire band The Zangwills, and Jake and Adam are on the pod. How do, boys?
Hello. Very well. How are you?
Yeah, very good. So not the full band today, but as far as excuses go, I think Ed's is a pretty good one. Currently backpacking around the Himalayas. Apparently might jump on at some point if you can get Wi-Fi or something like that. So is your lives at the moment, in terms of as a band, are you just inundated with kind of photos on WhatsApp, tales of adventure and that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, really. I mean, it's gone from just seeing each other every week a few times to just seeing like videos of elephants and stuff I've had, which is it's pretty interesting though. We're glad he's doing it because it looks incredible. Yeah, better than the back of a van, I guess. on a tuk-tuk instead.
Are you expecting him to come back kind of fully inspired and wanting to add panpipes to everything you do as a band?
Well, I do hope so, yeah.
This might be our like Beatles moment when
There are no panpipes on the brand new tune, Drawing from Memory, but in terms of musically, you've thrown pretty much everything else at it. It's an absolutely massive tune. There's piano, synth, I think I can hear a touch of strings in there as well. Was it always going to be, from its very inception, was it always going to be that kind of big anthemic indie song?
I think so. It all happened so quickly, Drawing from Memory. I was thinking about it earlier today, actually. From the original writing of the song to the time when we recorded it, I think it was all about 2 weeks. So it really happened quickly. Usually we've sort of bashed them about in like rehearsals and on tour a bit before we've gone into record songs. So it's kind of like what you hear was how it was originally written, give or take a few little bits, like an extra verse and things like that. But I think we always wanted it to be quite big and like multi-layered and that kind of thing. We've been kind of getting bigger and bigger and bigger with arrangements recently, just like really playing about with like different instruments and stuff. And we've been loving it.
You say it was kind of a quick turnaround between writing it and getting it recorded properly in the studio. I know you had the studio session booked and you came up with this a couple of weeks before you actually went into the studio and record it. Do you remember that moment where, as a band, you realised that you needed to get this done, that you were sitting on something a little bit special?
Yeah. The tracks that we had, quite often when you are like in the process of writing, particularly for like a single, you're not writing to a brief necessarily, but you want a shorter song, like punchy, catchy, something that, for lack of a better word, like bangs. But when we were writing a crop of songs, we were writing a lot. We were being very proficient, but none of them stood out to us as like singles. A lot of them were longer, like 4-5 minute songs. And when Drawing from Memory came, it was like we'd already like said, you know what, that's fine. We'll record one of these songs anyway, because we were still, super proud of them. Really loved the songs. But when Drawing from Memory came out, we all just thought it was like absolutely perfect. Like we loved playing it. We loved like listening to the demo that we had recorded of it. It just made so much sense. The first time we all brought it into the room together and jammed it, we were like, yeah, this is the one.
Given your reaction to this song, did that then inform how you approached the other songs that you recorded during that session?
I think so. I think we went in with, it was an interesting feeling going into the studio with like unfinished ideas. And like it was quite nice to still have that like sort of feeling of curiosity of like where it was going to go. Because it's not often that we get that in the studio. We normally go in with like fully finished ideas and it's like really systematic. Like we've got a plan. Like we're going to record this bit, we're going to record that bit.
Well, it's a luxury of people with budgets to be able to do that, isn't it? To go in with that idea and hash it out over weeks.
Exactly. There's too much risk financially and creatively in going into the studio with an unfinished idea. So it was quite interesting to do it. But because we went in with a few songs, it bled into like the others that we had. And we sort of let ourselves go a bit and played around a bit, really. And it was, I think, all the better for it.
It's the first new tune you've put out for, I think, about 6 months now. Beers with the Beekeeper, I think, was the last tune you released. Is this the start of a new phase of releases and regular stuff coming from you?
Yeah, that's absolutely the plan. The more often you can release music, the better, really, in the landscape that we're in now. The days of like, you can release an album every 2 years and put out a single before the album comes out. It's not in the climate we're in. It's, you really need to constantly be like giving people new music, which it's good. It's so exciting releasing music, like hearing people's reaction to it and then playing new songs live. It's always amazing. We've been on just such like a proficient streak, there's that word again, of writing so much. Me and Jake are writing all the time. Sam and Ed always sending ideas. We're always collaborating on things that it just makes sense to, just keep going as much as we can. Keep the momentum going, really.
I think, I might be wrong with the maths here, but I think next year, if you count the beginning of the band as you guys getting together at college, I think next year will be your 10th year.
I think around then, yeah. Like it might as well be 10 years. I think it's either 10 or 9. But it's a weird one, really, because of COVID and stuff. We sort of lost 2 of them. It's strange. It doesn't really feel like that long, but it also feels like 20 years.
When you look back at those kind of early days, when you were getting together and kind of starting to jam and formation of the band was just pulling itself into orbit, if you think about how you felt there and someone described to you where you'd be as a band in 10 years' time and kind of describe the current state of the Zangwills, do you think you would have been happy with that as a destination?
Yeah, I think so. Like, absolutely. And I think it's really important to sort of think in that way a lot more when, like, we're getting hung up about things sometimes, like at the moment, like as you do, like in any sort of line of work and stuff. I guess it is important to just think, like, of if we could tell ourselves then about this so-called problem we've got, we'd just be absolutely shouting at ourselves and just being like, oh, you don't even know how good you got it, really. A lot of it's been luck, really, like in terms of streaming and things. It tends to be the things that we've put the least effort into of just like flown, really. Like with our first single, and there's another one called Patio Paradise, they've just like done really well, and we've probably put the least amount of effort into sort of promoting them. So it's like a really weird one, especially with like the songs we're writing at the moment. I don't think we'd have ever even known how to go about that back then. And we just thought like, oh, well, we won't be able to play that live. So what's the point? But I think our attitude has changed in that area, like a great deal.
Some pretty big moments to tick off, working with award-winning producers, making videos with Maisie Williams, playing sold-out shows at Gorilla. There's some decent bucket list things to be ticking off there, so I think it's only fair you're proud of what you've done over the last 10 years. Boys, really looking forward to seeing what comes next. I'm hoping that this next batch of music might be moving you closer to that debut album that you've talked about for a little while now, but we'll get the latest one, Drawing from Memory, on Freshly Squeezed. But nice one for coming on.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
I see you in the dark, can't be a shadow. I heard you shuffling in. I heard you missed the mark. Oh, the Mr. Mirror, completely didn't you, dear? Well, it's something that I can't. Well, it's something that I can't fight. I can see you when you're not here. I close my eyes and well, you know, I could just take a bite. Did I dream you? Did I dream you?
Very jet setting on today's podcast. Chats in Budapest, band members in the Himalayas. Makes Manchester seem a little bit dull, to be honest. But here I am, and I'll be back next week with another 3 bands for you to check out. Hit follow to get that show as soon as it's ready, wherever you are listening to this podcast. In the meantime, check out the links in the podcast description to listen to more music from the bands featured, the now Dubinski and The Zangwills. There is plenty to go at there. And also, make sure you are following or have saved, I forget what the exact terminology is, the weekly Spotify new music playlist. Always 10 tracks every single week. The bands we feature on the podcast, but then 7 more. So if you need more new music in your life, that is the place to go. I'll see you next time on Freshly Squeezed. Cheers for your ears.
The award-winning Freshly Squeezed, a new music podcast, was devised, produced and hosted by Jim Salveson. Sound design and additional production by Ant McGinley. The music, Blue Blazer, is written and produced by Spin Class. Stop.